Hello. Yes, hello. Welcome to my talk, Advocating Accessibility at Studio Gobo. So let me start by giving a brief introduction of myself. My name's Adam, and I've worked in the games industry for 15 years now. I started out in QA at Real Time Worlds in Dundee, in Scotland, and then I joined an indie startup as a designer. I then spent a few years running my own studio, releasing one browser and one mobile game, before moving into AAA co-dev at Splash Damage. And then most recently, I've had the privilege to be lead designer at Studio Gobo. So by the end of this presentation, we will have learned that you don't need to be specifically working in the field of accessibility to be able to affect positive change and make a real difference for players and developers. We'll learn that change can come from anywhere, no matter who you are or what your position is, and that by building lots of small actions and repeating the message, you can build a lasting culture over time. So when I joined Studio Gobo back in 2020, 5 years ago, I had a bit of experience and interest in accessibility from my time working at Splash Damage, but this wasn't really something that anyone at Gobo was talking about, at least not openly as far as I could see. So I was joining the studio as a lead designer, a position which has a bit of clout and hopefully people listen to me a bit. So I thought, right, what can I do here? So first thing I did was to put together a presentation on accessibility basics. I'm not an expert by any means, but I think if you know a little bit, you can still communicate that to people in order to share what accessibility was, and most importantly, why it's important. As you can see, our PowerPoint template has barely changed in 5 years. And this was a studio-wide presentation. So at that time, we were running three different projects, but I ran it not just to my project, but the entire studio. And this was really the first step in getting people thinking about and talking openly about the subject of accessibility. So I did that one presentation and everything was fine and everyone loves accessibility and does it all of the time. No, of course not. You can't expect a single presentation to change things overnight. So over 5 years, there's been a constant trickle of me mentioning accessibility in many other places, across Teams, email, coffee chats, whatever it is. And one of the constants of my 5 years has been that whenever I'm giving feedback or work is shared, I try to call out where accessibility could be improved, or more importantly, celebrate when it's already been considered. We're now at a point at Gobo where other people are calling this out as well, and it's not just me, which makes me so happy, and it is a definite win. Seeing things on Teams where someone else who's never openly even thought about accessibility says something like, yeah, but could a colorblind player play this? Makes me so happy, and it shows that we're getting that conversation going and people are thinking about it. We've also got an accessibility specific channel on Teams, and I wasn't the one to set this up, which is amazing. Someone else did it, which, yeah, massive win. It means that I don't have to do everything. So working specifically in codev, one of the barriers that you hear a lot is, well, it's not our job to do this. In codev, you've normally got a client who's making like the larger portion of the game, and you're doing a subset of it. So it's very easy to say like, well, that's their job. Like, we're not working on this part. Well, it might not be your job, but if you're concerned about something, you should always highlight this. At Studio Gobo, we work with many different partners on many different games, which all have their own approach to design and accessibility. Often we'll come onto a project in the middle of development, so we're generally in a pretty good position where we're able to play what is already there of the game and give feedback on it. And on any new project, there's always this onboarding period, and this usually involves just playing the game for a few days or potentially weeks to get a clearer idea of the game's vision and design direction. I also use this time to call out specific accessibility improvements, and then I create a separate feedback document and share that with the client as well. Some of this feedback will be things that we at Gobo can change, but often it won't be. And that's okay, because now you've opened a dialogue with the people that can enact change, And hopefully, I'm now in contact with accessibility counterparts at whatever studio we're working with. But you can also extend this philosophy across multiple projects. As I mentioned, Studio Gobo quite often works on multiple projects at once. And every Friday, we have a show and tell where one of those projects will share their recent work and what they've been working on. And this is a really great opportunity for the rest of us to see what's going on. But during these show and tells, you might see more opportunities to improve accessibility. And again, like, you should highlight these. Then go even further. You can look beyond just how a feature could be made more accessible, but also how a feature could be used as part of a larger accessibility option. I think my favorite example of this was when, during one of these show and tells, one of our engineers showed off how he was triggering different animations based on the speed at which a player approached the edge of a cliff. So if they walked to the edge, they would drop down and hang. If they ran, they'd do a little jump off it. And if they sprinted, they would do a bigger jump with a fun little parkour roll. Some of you may have already worked out what I was thinking when I watched this, but for anyone that's still unclear, this is what happened next. So I realized that watching this, we clearly already have the tech to detect when players are at the edge of a cliff because we're triggering these different animations based off of it. So we could use this tech to add a ledge protect feature to help players with low vision or trouble with fine motor skills. And that will ensure that they can't accidentally just fall off cliffs and take fall damage. So with a bit of planning, we're able to use that tech that already existed and created a new accessibility option with very little overhead. So there's also numerous examples of this kind of accessibility win that likely exists within your debug tools already. Do you have God mode available so that you can play through bits of your game without ever dying? You probably do. Expose this for players. Have your designers been tweaking some variables to find the perfect level of aim assist? Expose this for players. And have you been able to skip cutscenes so that you can get your content faster? Altogether now, expose this for players. Not great audience participation, but we'll gloss over that. I'd also like to take this opportunity to plug my recent GDC presentation, which has crossover into accessibility. If you do have access to the GDC Vault, you can please check out my talk, Building a Big Impact One Brick at a Time, Marginal Gains in LEGO Horizon Adventures. If you don't have access to the Vault, just come and grab me later and I'll give you the gist of it. It's basically about cycling. So once you've started to build accessibility into your regular dev conversations, it's then time to start to take things up a notch. For multiple years, I've encouraged a number of my colleagues to attend events like GAConf, both in person and virtually. And events like this provide invaluable exposure to the benefits and impact of building accessibility into our games. After attending these events, we talk about what we've learned back at the studio, and we're able to start putting names and faces to disabilities. It's much more powerful to ask, hey, could Matt play this? Rather than, hey, could someone with a visual impairment play this? And also, Matt's in the room somewhere. Hello, Matt. Because maybe they've met Matt. Maybe they've had a conversation with him or just seen his presentation at GAConf. And now they're able to associate a design opportunity to a person rather than a condition. So last year, I took things further still and organized and ran an inclusive design workshop for Studio Gobo. So having been banging on about the subject of accessibility for 4 years already, I was fairly confident that we would get a good turnout. But honestly, I was blown away with the turnout we had. We had nearly 20% of the entire studio attend and had representation from all disciplines at all levels of seniority. Bear in mind as well, we have a large number of remote workers, both like far corners of the UK and abroad as well. So yeah, this was a really big win for us. And we had 4 brilliant accessibility experts join us. And this helped further to build that empathy I mentioned, as we all got to have meaningful and personal conversations with each other to better understand what accessibility means to them. At this point, I knew the studio was in good hands, and we now had a good number of people who cared about and would stand up for accessibility in all of our future projects, and it no longer fell just on one person. So 5 years ago, when I joined Gobo, I said to Shu, our studio head, that my big, hairy, audacious goal was to win a Games Accessibility Award. This year, LEGO Horizon Adventures was nominated for Accessibility Innovation of the Year at the MCV Developer Awards. And while we didn't win, that would have been a better end to the story, even just getting a nomination shows that what we've been doing at Gobo is paying off for all of our players. So we will not stop until everyone gets to enjoy the games that we make. So thank you so much for listening. I hope you found some value in this presentation. I'd like to end with a few key takeaways. So you are more than a cog in the machine. You are the machine, and you can affect positive change no matter what your role or position. Building advocates and evangelists is a constant process. Talk about it every day, and celebrating when people consider accessibility in their work is essential because it makes sure that they know that they've been seen. And you already work with people who care about this. Just show them that it's okay to keep talking about it. Look for the wins in places that require little additional effort and expose those developer variables so that your players can tune settings to their needs. And events like these are an amazing way to build empathy and highlight how important and powerful accessibility can be. Thank you for your time. Feel free to grab me if you see me walking around, or you can get in touch via email or LinkedIn as well. Thank you very much.